Hello. Welcome to my video. I need a better introduction, but I have more pressing concerns at the moment. Today I would like to show you a tutorial about how to easily copy over your eye blink parameter. For example, you've gone all the trouble to do your blinking motion here. Oh wow, it looks so amazing. And then you're like, oh my god, I have to do this for the other side. And I want to make it look symmetrical, but I have to do it by hand and I'm gonna have to match it pixel by pixel. Well, don't worry, I'm here to help you out. I'll show you today how to reflect your parameters and how to properly adjust them to suit them. And how to properly adjust them so they're in the right space. Yeah, so please stay tuned. Now, of course, the first thing that you have to do is finish up your it can be L or R, it doesn't really matter, but you have to finish your open parameter. If you're going to do a smile parameter as well, make sure you finish that. And also eyeball X and Y. It looks a little funny right here when only one of her eyes is doing this. I highly recommend when doing eyeball X and Y to use a warp deformer, like this one, to do the eyeball X and Y. The reason I prefer this is because not for every model, but some models, the irises will look slightly different on each eye because sometimes they're not an exact reflection of either iris. It depends on the artist, and so that's why if you put it in the deformer, when you end up reflecting it, it's not gonna really matter because you can always take this side's iris and just insert it into this deformer. If it doesn't make sense right now, don't worry too much, I'll get to it. But the general baseline is finish your eyeball X, any other parameters that you want to do, especially L open and smile, all of this stuff. Some other parameters you might want to finish is X and Y. It depends on your workflow. I could have done X and Y first, but if you watch my live streams, you'll notice that I didn't. It might be a good idea to do this first because then it will be easier to, when you reflect, it's going to reflect perfectly on the other side and it'll be a symmetrical version on the angle X. So that can cut down your workflow. I might try that on the next model that I do. Because that, in theory, that's easier. I don't normally do it because I like just doing that part by hand, but if you want to optimize your workflow, it's definitely an option. Now, let's put this all back. So the first thing we need to do, make sure you open up all of the deformers you have. I have quite a few. Don't worry about if you have less or more, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that everything that is within the RI deformer is selected. You can't just like select the deformer and not the layer inside of the deformer because then it's just not going to work properly. So make sure you go through and open them all within the major RI deformer or LI depending on which order you did it, and then select them all by holding Shift, Control C, Control V, and that's copy paste. So you'll see now that there's two sets. There's the one we have currently selected, and then well, I don't know which one's the pasted one, but that doesn't really matter. So the first thing I want to do, you can go and rename all of them if you like, but I'm just going to rename especially the major deformer to L. So there's less confusion. You can go ahead and rename all of them if you like. I don't because I'm lazy and it doesn't change my workflow too much. I just make sure the major deformer is changed, but it's up to you really. It won't change how it looks, it'll just be ease. So next, well, go back to when it was all selected, right? While it's still selected, don't unselect it like I did, right? But while it's still selected, after you've pressed Control V, then right click, and then you'll have this menu, and right down the bottom it says reflect. Click reflect. Done. Now this is the window that will come up when you click reflect. It looks something like this. First thing you want to make sure is reflect horizontally is already checked. The next thing you want to check is if you have already done eyeball X and Y, check eyeball X. The reason we want to do this is if you don't check this, I can easily show you what it'll look like. You're going to look cross-eyed basically, but I'll show you what it looks like without it checked. It will look like this if you don't check it, so that's why you need to check it. Let's go back. Okay, we're back to the window and we're doing it again. Make sure you check eyeball X. This is reflect parameters, so like I just showed you, if you don't do this, you will look cross-eyed because it's reflecting all of the images that you've already done. But if you do a complete mirror image, then obviously it will be going the opposite way than you want it to. So that's why you want to reflect everything, but then basically reflect these again, so that way it goes back to the way you did it originally, because you want it to move the same way for eyeball X, the left to right. You want it to move in tandem with the one that you originally made. And the other one that you need to do this for is angle X if you've already done angle X. If you haven't done angle X by this point, like the head movements, you don't have to worry, it probably will not come up. But if you have, please check this because it's the exact same process. If you don't do this, it will look weird. See, by doing this, it's kind of in the right place for angle X here. Okay, so I've hidden the original LI layer, but I'm going to bring it back. But we can see that now they're moving in tandem, and eyeball X and Y look fine because we made sure to click reflect eyeball X. You don't have to worry about eyeball Y. And this all looks perfectly fine. Just once you've reflected everything, just make sure you double check it in case you haven't made any mistakes. Okay, so it is all reflected and it's working properly. Eyeball X and Y are fine. I hid the LI folder before, but this is what it looks like originally. Now you can see that the major problem that we have when we reflect the image is that it is not exactly in the right place, and that's because our canvas isn't perfectly aligned. Well, the model is not perfectly aligned in the canvas. This often happens because it's very hard in some art programs to have it pixel perfect in the middle. And that's fine because we can fix this. But that is something that you'll notice. But if you've done the angle X and Y, the problem is if you then let me just rename this quickly. If you then go to LI and then you try and adjust it to be in the right place, if you've done something like angle Y, it's a little bit subtle, but it's going to move back into the position it originally was when it reflected, which is what we don't want. So to combat this issue, what we do, we'll make a rotation deformer up here. It doesn't matter what the name is because we're going to delete it very soon anyway, so don't worry. I'll move the rotation deformer by holding Control and then hold Control to make this smaller, hold Alt to make this smaller. I make it smaller just so it's easier to see, and then we can, move around this. and we can move it into place. You can align it with the original image and then hide that really quick. Yeah, that's pretty much in place. So then I want to hide the original LI and we'll check it. And you can see that angle Y, it won't move like it was doing before. So we can go ahead and then just delete this rotation deformer and we're fine. It's already moved in place. You can see it's a bit weird, but that's because I did this a little bit differently. Okay. So the last thing we need to check is just a sec. I think the iris is fine, but the highlight, I want it to be opposite. So how can we fix this? We can take, I'll just order this real quick. We can take the L highlight and put it into the deformer that I originally had. Oops. The other highlight one in, hide that, and then make sure you put this out. Remove the L highlight in the project area underneath the eyelashes of the original R, and hide the L. Okay, then once we have put that highlight into the copied deformer, it'll move alongside it, and that way if you have these deformers made for stuff like eyeball X and Y, rather than just doing it on the object itself, you can easily move it over. And if there's differences in the highlight layers on left and right or the iris layers on left and right, it doesn't really matter because you've done it in a deformer and you've saved yourself time. Yay! Yeah, so that is how we reflect all of that. And the last thing I'll show you is, let's do select all of this, except I don't want this side. Let's go check the RI. Here, I don't want this. I don't want this. All of this stuff over on this side, right? That one, yes. I want all of these selected on the left-hand side. So they are all currently on the IL open. We want to change it onto IR open to give yourself the ability to wink and stuff like that. So to do that, you need to go here on IL open, make sure you have only these ones selected. You can select all of the stuff that's on this parameter by right clicking and do select like I did, and then you unselect by going through here and holding control. And once you have the parts that you want to change the parameter of selected, you right click, you hover over, and you go change. And a little something is gonna appear. Give me a second and I will show you. Dun dun, here, right? So we're changing all of the stuff that we have just done, and we want to put it on IR open because we want them to blink independently of one another. So click IR open, IL open, just depending on which one you originally did. Press OK, and then we can see if we do IL open, you don't need to do it for I smile because that'll be fine in tandem. I mean, you can if you want. You can do the same thing for IL smile, IR smile, but I find it doesn't make a difference, and I don't normally want them to be moving independently like this. I want them to be in sync. But yes, the left eye is opening by itself and the right eye is opening by itself, and Pachi, 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 pachi. You're done. You didn't have to do it all over again by hand. Isn't that great? Haha, aren't I a genius? So please go and try this yourself. And then show me the results. And if you have any questions, if you got stuck at any point or didn't understand what I'm saying and you're like, Shippy, help me, please leave any questions in the comments below. Yay! Okay. So, thank you. And bye for now. Bye.